difference between hacking into systems than cracking into them. And it's just, I listen to some of these people, especially in my industry, you know, because I deal with IT and OT. And OT is more of a fucking shit show than you could ever fucking imagine. I mean, you really want to talk about something that is incredibly fucked up, that's old and archaic. What I deal with on a daily basis literally would turn your hair gray.
Trying to get this live stream going. It's always YouTube that takes the longest. It says excellent connection, and then you got the spinny thing, just sits there and keeps spinning. I'm home alone. My wife and my daughter, they're in Minnesota. So I have 4 dogs. These fucking dogs will not leave me alone. They follow me everywhere. They're like little, I don't know, it's getting creepy. I mean, I always love my dogs, and my dogs love, you know, but it's like when there's nobody else in the house. Shit, dude. The only place I could find where they leave me alone was in the pool. So I fucking yesterday I sat 2 hours. I sat there in the pool and I just watched them. I'm like, what the fuck? You guys gotta go.
That is so funny.
All right, we're gonna go live. I'm gonna click this button here and going live. All right. Well, welcome to the InfoSec to Insanity podcast. This is episode 4. And Chip, you're with me today. How you doing?
Man, I am living the dream, brother. Living the dream every day.
Is it a dream? Is it a dream or is it a nightmare? I mean, tell me about your dreams.
Well, I mean, I take medicine not to dream, but, you know, I mean, I started doing this in 8th grade, you know, and I'm 48 now. And I mean, this is all I've done my professional career in life. So, you know, I grew up, for people that know me personally, I grew up poor in a trailer park, you know, in Mississippi. And it was just, you know, I mean, there was no high-tech industry. There was nothing for me, you know, there was no real outage for me, only unless I wanted to go work in a factory, you know. So in 8th grade, I saw, you know, that Apple IIe, and I was like going, this box, this screen, whatever this thing is going to get me out of here. This is what's going to do it, you know. And I found a local computer club, you know, and it was one of those things is like, I fell into this, you know. And then I grew up in a military family, and then when my dad got, you know,
what branch?
Posted, he worked for some 3-letter agencies that was attached to the Air Force, and then was also attached to the Army.
Okay.
So he did DI training. So he actually trained DIs. For those who don't know, that's a drill instructor. He trained drill instructors.
I was about ready to point that out because I grew up in a military family too, so I knew what you were saying. But I know a lot of people don't know what DI means.
Yeah, I got it. My dad taught drill instructors to be drill instructors, so I grew up with a drill instructor. You know, and there's a lot of people going, wow, that must be intense. I was like, well, no, you just, you know, what you can, you know, there's definitely a fuck around and find out axis, you know, that's theirs, you know, in my life. So, you know, I knew where the line was drawn, you know, and we lived in 7 states, you know, and went to 22 different countries. And, you know, that was, that's how kind of I grew up until, you know, I mean, most people don't realize is, you know, an E1, E4 doesn't make that much money, you know. And
were you ever at Wright-Patterson?
No, I never at Patterson.
Okay.
Yeah, so
you seem to me like you have an Ohio accent.
No, I am not. I am in an undisclosed location.
No, I know that now, but I'm just saying, growing up, you sound because I don't know if you knew this about me. Do you know much about me? This beautiful fucking beard I have.
It is very dead sexy that you're rocking that ZZ Top look. Yeah.
I like you, man. I really like you. I mean, this is the first time you and I have met. First time you and I have talked. I think our circles have kind of been close to each other, but they never really intersected. I grew up. Do you have any brothers and sisters?
No, I do not. I'm an only child. How our inner circle is that, you know, I used to comment a lot when y'all had the shit show, you know.
Oh, all right.
On the YouTube chat channel, and befriended Ryan Coltier that's been on your show before, and you know, I really kind of, you know, tore up the Discord channel a lot, you know, and did a lot of posting on the shit show, which is still out there. It tickles me to death, like nobody posts on it anymore, but it's like the shit show, you know, Discord channel is out there. And he called me up and he's like, I've got this, you know, cybersecurity issue, can you help me with it? And I talked him through it, and he's like, yeah, let's keep in touch. So it kind of started that. And then he's like, hey, we're starting up, the talk show again, hopefully, would you like to be on the Evan? And I was like, fuck yeah, man, sign me up.
Awesome. Yeah,
I got a
I
lot
grew
to
up.
yell and scream
I'm an only
about.
child. I'm an only child too, and I grew up also in a military family. My father was, and I say was because once a Marine, always a Marine, but he's
Oh,
dead
yeah.
now. So he was he retired from the Marine Corps, and I don't know, it's probably 11, 12. And then my mother was also in the Marine Corps. So I had two Marine Corps parents. My dad was a gunny. I don't know what my mom was actually, but she was 6 years. So it was strict, it was, but it was good. I mean, I'm very grateful for that upbringing. My dad, much, probably similar. My dad was in MIS. That's what they called it back then.
Yeah.
In the early 70s. So he always brought home computer equipment. I was an only child, and there's three things that always, if three things are true, I'm always going to get in trouble. And the three things are, I'm bored, I have time on my hands. What's the third one? Oh, and I'm alone.
Yeah.
And so if those three things are true, then I get in trouble. And so I broke everything. They'd bring home computers, I'd break them. I don't know why. I think probably to get attention originally. And then I kind of got in with a group of punks, really, looking back. So I had my first felony at the age of 14.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't know. It was all right. Nothing violent. The violent stuff didn't happen until my 20s, maybe. But that all revolved around alcohol for me. But I hacked a copy of Microsoft's Windows 95 in 94 from their bulletin board server. Took everybody had
the old BBS systems, man.
Yeah, right.
Takes
I
me
miss
back.
them. I miss all those things, man. As an old timer, and I'm 53 now. As an old timer, I miss those days. I miss when days were a little bit simpler. The truth of the matter is, complexity is the worst enemy of information security, and we just continue to pile on more shit on top of shit.
Oh, yeah, let's throw AI on it. That'll make it fucking work better. No, it won't. And I just, it's because I've been doing this for so long. I grew up doing this because, once my dad, left the army, and this is back in the 70s, early 80s, he got recruited by the CIA, and then he worked for the CIA. And then after he worked for the CIA, then he worked for the NSA. And then after he worked for the NSA, he got hired by, out of all fucking people, the post office, and became the postmaster general for a state. So,
they say there's one
crazy, growing up in the...
two people you don't fuck with, the post office and the IRS.
Oh, yeah, they're going to find you. They will find you. Trust me.
The NSA doesn't scare me. The CIA doesn't scare me. The FBI doesn't scare me. The post office actually scares me.
Yeah, the post office scares. I mean, if you knew what happened behind the curtain to get your mail, it would scare the shit out of everybody. But it was like my
investigators. Their investigators can do flipping anything, brother.
Yeah. Yeah. So, my dad was an investigator, and, here's his gun. Here's his 357 Magnum that he carried, for years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he gave that to me on my 21st birthday. He's like, I'm no longer, going to need this anymore, whatnot. But, my dad, was drafted, after Vietnam, and then got in Vietnam, and then, worked in intelligence apparatus over there. And he just kind of fell into it. And so it was like everywhere that I ever went, I was surrounded by people that worked for the different agencies, and same thing with the post office. I mean, I grew up with people that, were mail carriers that were a little fucking crazy, and then chasing down drug dealers through the mail. So when I, got out of college, and this leads into the reason why I have to wear the mask and I have to protect my identity is, I became a private military contractor, after college. And I spent 15 years, in every friggin' war zone you could imagine. I've been shot twice, stabbed 3 times, hit with an IED. I've had 7 major surgeries, just had my last surgery last year, and I had another surgery, for my shoulder and for some shrapnel they took more out of me, and, for a double hernia, just, over all the other surgeries that caused other problems. They had to go back and fix other stuff. I was what they called a PMC, private military contractor, and I was there, because my dad was like, after Vietnam and all the shit he went through, he's like, that, regular infantryman makes about $30,000, maybe $40,000 a year. You can make $250 an hour. And considering that I had to pay for my own college and I was $1,000 in debt, sign my ass up at 21 years old, when you're getting paid $350 an hour, to sit at a computer terminal, in Jalalabad, But then they gave me a gun, and, and a whole bunch of ammo and equipment, and they said, hey, we're going to attach you to the 501st Air Cav out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. So you're going to do some training with them, and you're going to be part of the Night Stalkers unit. So you're going to be the guy that's a contractor that's in the rear with the gear, that's going to get us up with CENTCOM and, make all of our intelligence and stuff, apparatus work together. While we're off here fighting, you're going to coordinate, all this different, strikes and all this and So it was great. I enjoyed it, loved it. Great people that I worked with over there, great operators. Had a wonderful time. Really enjoyed it. But when I got 35, I got pretty beat up, and pretty shot up and stabbed up. And I was like, my life expectancy's not looking so hot over here. And I was like, it's time to do something a little different. And, the reason why I have to wear the mask is because, I am a certified ethical hacker, pen tester, forensic investigator, and now, auditor and forensic, first responder for the United States federal government under contract. So, I've been doxxed twice by the Chinese. They've had a red notice on me, tried to have me deported to face charges in China, which my lawyer told him,
let
like,
me just officially say this. Let me just officially say this right now. Fuck you, China.
Yeah, fuck you, China. Fuck you in the ass. So that, China, my lawyer was laughing his ass off. He's like, we're going to take a U.S. national and send them to China to face up some trumped up charges. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So they withdrew the red notice, and then the Russians came for me, and they said, okay, it's too hot, to bring you back into the U.S. We got another contract. You can finish it up. You'll finish up your contracting. And I said, okay, it's in the Americas, but it's like, okay, what do you want me to do? They're like, we want you to go investigate the drug cartels in Mexico. And I was like,
well, let me ask you this, man, because I do lots of shit. I don't, whatever. And nobody knows what I do because fuck, you don't need to know and whatever. But do they not do a good job of training you to use personas in the work that you do? Because I don't ever have to hide my face because it's never me.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is that, because, I'm part of the federal system. This goes back to when OPM, the Office of Personnel Management, was hacked. And when OPM got hacked, all of our social security numbers, identities, where we lived, everything got put on the open internet. And that's what caused the main problem. And they almost got to what they call the knock list, which is our spies that are, embedded in other countries. They had to relocate me, which really pissed off my wife. And they had to move me, and, they had to go through all this stuff, to make sure that, first off, my credit was okay, because I was in the process of trying to relocate and buy a house. So, that all had to get monitored. I mean, it was just a mess. I mean, it was like, trying to get new driver's license and new names and new.
So really it was the OPM breach that fucked you over.
Yeah, the OPM fucked over a lot of people, and it was from China and Russia, and that was sold on the dark net for $100 a record. You could find out exactly who this person was that was embedded in your country that was stealing, proprietary secrets or stealing, government spy agency spy stuff.
Right.
So,
I know that breach all too well.
Yeah, and for coming from the counterintelligence and counter-surveillance world, it's like, okay, these people want you dead. This is no bullshit. And now, I've been investigating the drug cartels for, 2 to 3 years. I said, I'm done. That's it. Fuck it. I'm done. No more government contracting overseas for me. I'm coming back to the US.
The government is so stupid the way they do shit.
Yeah, it's fucking, I mean, if people really fucking knew how sloppy it is,
I know, Well, that's one of the questions, honestly, man, as a guy who had never met you before. I saw the mask and I'm like, why? Why the mask? And, but it makes sense now. And I appreciate you explaining that to me because
as most normal people are held to the regular court, I'm held accountable to the FISA court. So
and even beyond that, man. I mean, even the FISA court doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is your identity behind the work you were doing was exposed. Because honestly, and I joke around with some of my friends. I mean, I've actually died 8 times.
Yeah.
They were my personas. It wasn't me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you'll never know who it was and that's, there's a lot of new guys, come into this industry and want to know what I do. And I'm like, I'm not going to tell you what I do. And they're like, why? And I said, because 1, you're not ready for it.
Right.
And 2, because you're not patient. The work that I, and I don't do it as much as I used to because I'm 53 years old and I'm just tired now. But I would work on a persona for 9 months before I ever got behind the keyboard with that persona.
Right.
I mean, there's so much fucking work that goes into building my pretext. Shit, man, the logistics,
and the documentation. People don't realize the documentation that goes into it's like, I tell these people that want to be red teamers, because I run a red team and I've got this greenhorn, that's straight out of the military. And I'm like, dude, you do not understand. This is the long fucking game. This is subtle. This is not something where you just go in, with your rainbow tables and your Hashcat and your Kali Linux and fucking try to, do. And this is the analogy I've used for the generation that is now, is that they think it's like Mortal fucking Kombat. They pull off some kind of fucking swift moves and they do this fatality and they think they fucking won. Well, no, that's just 1 round, motherfucker. You've still got 2 more rounds to go through. And they don't get it.
And that's number 1, right? With so many attackers, not attackers, maybe the younger generation that wants to, for some reason, I think the shit that, the more, I guess, fucking dangerous shit or, whatever, the things we don't talk about. And I'll never talk about them, and that's, I know that frustrates some people, but, I'm just never going to talk about it. There
doesn't frustrate me a bit.
No, I know. It's because you've been there, man, but it's, it takes so much work before. I mean, that's the thing. It's 99.9% of that kind of work is so fucking mundane. It's so boring. It's so slow. It's so methodical that when you actually do start, because number 1, right? Before I ever do anything, before I even start working on a pretext or what my persona is going to be or anything like that, purpose. What's the objective?
What are we trying to do here? Yeah. I mean,
and it has to be absolutely crystal clear. And I'll give you an example, an objective is not, well, I want to learn what Russians are doing and Russian criminal gangs are doing in the United States or something.
Yeah.
Not specific enough. That's not good enough. You have to be more specific because you have to come to the point where it's a pass fail and your purpose has to be so tight that when you get off the rails, because the minute you get off the rails, it's time to kill your persona. And that's going to suck for you because you're like, I've put 12, 18 months of work behind this thing. I don't want to kill it just because I left an EXIF tag on a photo. I used a different, because when I build personas, I don't even speak the same way I speak.
Right.
Because there's language analysis where you can tie things back to me just in the way I'm speaking.
And that's
the words I'm using.
Yeah, and that's the thing is China has got some really good motherfucking facial software, and
which they did not invent any of that shit. They just steal it.
Yeah, they stole Trapwire. If you know what Trapwire is, they're out there, kids. So for the ones that are looking out there that want to break out the Wikipedia, go look up, some of these. And everybody asks me, since I worked in operations, they're like, well, can you tell me about this? No, I can't tell you about that. Why? Because not only does it put me in jeopardy, it puts you in jeopardy for knowing about it because you might talk about it on social media and have some, Chinese fucking hit squad show up with the Yakuza to fucking mow you and your family down, because you mentioned it on a Facebook post and you weren't even fucking related to it, So it's not only the safety for me and my persona, it's the safety for my, not only my family, because I do have, kids, and, I had to, it was the hardest thing. I had to sit down with the principal of a school and say, hi there, you don't know who I am. I work with some 3-letter agencies, and nobody can come pick up to my child except for these people, and I had to give them their driver's licenses, and it's because, I don't want somebody. I said, like, look, I hate this. Does not sound racist, but anybody that looks Arabic or Chinese tries to check out my kid at school, you pick up the phone and call the fucking cops. Like, you don't let anybody go.
I'm giving you permission to racially profile on
totally
this one.
Racially profile. And it's like, these are the set people that can only pick up, my kid from school, because guess what, they don't go after just you kids. They go after everybody. They go after your credit, your mom, your dad, your dog. I mean, anything that these fuckers can get on you for compromise, they're going to fucking do it. And, that's the reason why I have this get up, to protect
Well, that
myself.
sucks, man. You know what sucks is, because when we started out the show, you and I have a lot of similarities. We're only children's, whatever you call that. Within, 5-6 years of age, military families, background, fathers were in tech, and I went this route, you went that route, and part of me really wishes you would have come my way. And it's all hindsight now, because a lot of the work you've done now, you did some shit that, like, probably didn't need to be done, but you were working for the federal government, so that's not anything new.
I can't judge. It's just, there's a lot of things that have basically punched my ticket probably a little bit south of heaven, but, as I tell people, it's like, look, I didn't make that decision. That was not my call, and there's a lot of things,
But just the sloppiness pisses me off. The fact of the matter that you have to wear that mask, that you have to watch your back all the time because the government didn't protect you properly. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. I mean, it is that, because my wife is Israeli, and she comes from Israel, and, she comes from the spy agencies and, some of the special training operations and stuff they have with Unit 8200 over there. And she worked with them for years and years and years before I met her, when I was over there, doing stuff. And she gets it. I mean, she understands it, but it's like a normal woman that you would meet at a bar, and it's like, hi there, what do you do for a living? Well, I really can't tell you, because,
fucking dogs.
They're
all over me, dude.
You might be a spy that's trying to kill me. It's like,
right.
Puppy.
Well, and that's, because you and I mean, shit, for all I know, and all we might have been in some of the same places at the same time, but I don't have to wear a mask because, number one, I think I was trained differently. And where I never used me.
Yeah.
I mean, my records have been exposed multiple times. I have been doxxed multiple times, but it's useless.
Yeah.
Because what are you going to do with it? You want to take my money? Fine. By Regulation E, the bank gives me all my money back. Yep. So I don't really give a shit. Have it all. Enjoy it.
Yeah. FDIC is going to give me my shit back, but.
Right.
Yeah. It's
so I don't have to deal with, looking over my back all the time. And so I think much respect to you, man. And I appreciate the work that you did.
Oh, I'm still in it too. And
I appreciate the work you're doing.
And now I deal a lot with it with critical infrastructure for the United States, and I work with, a lot of the agencies that are with, transportation, and energy and power and nuclear. So, I mean, it's just like,
that's got to be a clusterfuck.
It is right now, because, I mean, OT systems that, that I've worked with, because, like, everybody goes, well, there's certain things that you've wanted to do in your career, right? You're the founder and the owner of a, very, successful business. There are certain check marks that you make in your career that you want to do. And I got to check mark number 4, and I was like going, okay, I have reached, it's like, I got all the Microsoft certs I wanted to get, I got the 6-figure job. I finally got, married, have a child, have somewhat of financial stability, that's in my career, that's in my life. Because right now, I don't understand why it is all these companies. Like, if you go onto LinkedIn, it's like looking for work, under their little picture. I mean, it's just because, I guess it's because of the election in the U.S. and then everybody's fucking turtling to find out what the fuck's going to happen, before January the 6th. Especially in government right now, like we can't get anything passed under a budget or an RFP right now because we're waiting to see who's going to win the election, and then after that, nothing's really going to happen till after January the 6th, until the new president takes over and we find out who our new bosses are going to be, if there's a change in government. It's like, is, Jen Easterly going to still be at CISA? Who the fuck knows? I mean, is Pete Buttigieg going to be at the, TSA and transportation? Who the fuck knows? I mean, so right now, everything's in my world is just like, keep it on, keep it running, and make sure it doesn't fuck up, and make sure nobody breaks in. Make sure. So in the private industry,
come over into our world?
In the private industry where you're at, it's. I mean, like, I don't understand why Cisco and all these companies are firing huge swaths of people that have been there for years and years and years that, like, that know what they're doing, because
I'll tell you why.
It's money. It's the fourth quarter.
It was from 2000. So the last time we had that, big recession was the housing thing in 2008 to 2010.
Yeah.
And then after that, loose money, everything was about market share. Everything was about top end. Nobody gave a shit about profit. You saw company valuations in the billions of dollars for companies that had never turned a profit in their life.
Yep.
And then it was around 2021-ish. It wasn't long after Biden got elected when there was a lot of concern about the economy, and there was a lot of concern about, in the investment market, about profitability. And so then companies were like, oh shit, bottom line matters, cut the fat. And so you saw a whole bunch of, layoffs happen, in tech. And that was why, and fundamentally, I mean, if you go to like what Warren Buffett says about, the way businesses work, it's always been about profit, but you had so much of a money grab, which is just such a shit show in this industry. That's kind of what happened, man.
So, yeah, I mean, I look at like my friends that worked over at Dracos, they're all gone. It's like, friends that I worked, that worked at Clarity. And
was that Robert Lee's place?
Yeah, it's Robert Lee's joint. Yeah, I mean,
are they struggling right now?
I wouldn't say they're struggling, but let's just say this: they made him shave off his beard and look like a presentable CEO instead of where he originally came from. Like, yeah, what you have on right now, man, they would just fucking shit themselves, because I mean they're run by a board of directors now. There's no. He doesn't.
That's what happens.
How
many times have we seen? How many times have we seen in this industry? Because I have a past with Robert, and I have a past with Mandia and Kurtz.
Yeah, Kurtz. Siemens, they think I'm fucking Satan. I mean, I call them out on their shit all the time. General Electric
none of those guys would ever remember me, because I've always been about the mission. I don't give two shits about money. I need to sleep well every night. My theory has always been that if you serve the mission, you'll make money.
Yeah,
if you serve the money, you will not make the mission. It's that simple. One of those two helps me sleep well at night, knowing I never took advantage of somebody else. I never stole their money. I never sold them something they didn't need. There's a rule at FR Secure that if you ever sell a customer something that they didn't need,
you're fired.
I will run you over with my truck.
Fuck yeah. I mean, because that's the thing.
And
first off,
I've never had to prove that, thank God, because I'd be in jail, and that'd be really bad.
And that's a good thing to say, because I mean, I have a very strict code. I don't have morality. My wife will tell you, I don't really have a lot of morals. I don't have a lot of sympathy, empathy, and apathy, because that's just, those things died in me years ago. I mean, back in the 90s. And because as I've told my wife, and she gets it now, there's no real morality sometimes on the internet. I mean, it's a very cold, dark, evil place, and sometimes it's a very happy place. It's depending on what you do, and you do with it, with the technology that's given to you, and I've instilled that even into my kids, is that, it's like, look, what you see on your phone is not fucking reality, but guess what? There's a business model behind it, and you're a fucking commodity in an advertisement. If you look at Cambridge Analytica and all the shit that's behind it, and I'm like, because I have a girl, it's like, the reason why you're getting the makeup ads and the acne cream and all this kind of stuff It's because they've monetized, what it is that you're looking at on all these different websites and YouTube videos.
I told my daughter the reason why you're getting the ads for the makeup and the acne cream is because you're ugly and you got a lot of zits.
It does happen,
I'm just kidding. I would never say that to my daughter.
But it does happen. It's like, your average record, that you're looking at for your data is about $250 that they're, selling your record for and whatnot. But the one that's really fucking shitty that's pissed me off is all the people that are using, and this is where my, big fuck you to the industry has been happening, is because of Workday and all these people that are being, cut from jobs and, losing their jobs or being laid off or whatever, is that now these companies are putting out this is from a friend of mine that's worked in HR for 20 something years. And he's like, dude, you're not going to believe this. He goes, they are literally taking, people that applies for a job. Let's say supercomputer awesome store, or awesome company wants to hire 20 people for a job. Well, they're putting 20 job recs out there, but they're only hiring for really 5. But they're taking the rest of they're taking those 15 other people and all the data they collect for that. And then what they're doing is they're selling that to headhunting companies. And I'm like going, wait a minute, you mean to tell me this company that's looking to hire people that, say 15, but you only got, you're looking for 20, but you only got 5. And you're taking the others and they're literally selling the data for people that are going to their website to fill out for a job. And then they're selling that data to end up making a profit over somebody's pain that's looking for a job. That is dude, that's fuck you. That's where I really get pissed off. And, and that's just, but I'm like, but my wife was like going, they do that? I'm like, yeah. I said, because that's business. That's business. They're literally making money off somebody's misery for not having a job or position, that they're trying to get. And now, before I got this position in this job, which I've been at now for, quite a while, at least that's quite a while, for some people.
From 2 months to 20 years, who knows?
Yeah. So, for a while it was, on LinkedIn jobs, I think I sent out 1,752 resumes within a month. And, because I've got a bot program and I know how to game the system and how to fucking cheat, and I did a lot, but, it was just amazed me, like how much rejection and callbacks I did not get. And it's like, in this one interview I had, it was with a company called Arctic Wolf. I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
I know
they were
Arctic
like,
Wolf.
They made me take a test. And I was like going, dude, I've been doing this 26 fucking years. And they're like, well, tell us what an IP address is. And I'm like, here we go.
Oh, you mean an IP address?
Yeah. What does ping do?
Ping?
Yeah. It's protocol. They're like, okay. What does a
packet?
Got
me confused.
What does a packet do? I was like going, oh my God. And the first question I asked, I said, is this for a network administration job or for a cybersecurity job? Well, they're like, well, it kind of is a cybersecurity job, but we really need a network engineer. Then I'm like, well, then why didn't you just put on the fucking job rec, that you needed a network engineer?
Right.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm not the guy for you, and I'm not for everybody. I yell, scream, cuss, throw shit, and I work 100% remote. And they're like, no, you'd have to come in the office at least once a day. And I'm like, or once a week or something like that. I'm like, no, thanks, guys. No, not for me.
Right. Arctic Wolf. So you mentioned Arctic Wolf by name. I know Brian Needsmith. I don't know him well, but I had dinner with him a couple times when he was starting Arctic Wolf. He came from Blue Coat.
Really? I didn't know that.
Blue Coat Networks? Yeah. Way back when.
Back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just was
Long
like,
history.
they're like, well, it's not for really a cybersecurity. It's more for a SOC analyst role with a network engineering, thing behind it. I'm like going, well, then go get you a CCNA. And they're like, well, we don't want to pay for a CCNA. Well, then I'm like, well, then you're not going to get a good network engineer because you need a CCNA or a CCI. You don't need a CCIST, which I'm not, but, and then it gets into that whole fucking alphabet soup verbiage, of fucking certifications. And I'm just like going, what the fuck ever,
I started my first paid job in this industry was cleaning boot sector viruses off of Windows 3.1 machines for IBM. Yeah. And then I really liked networks. I really liked understanding how things communicate. So back in, I don't know, maybe 91, 92, I got my CCNP, and then I started teaching CCNP classes, you know, there were 4 courses back then. So you had your CCNA, which was, and then I love that, man. They were paying me so much money, and I was a drinker back then. I was still a drinker. And I was like, it was like $500 an hour to teach these classes. And I loved it.
Dude, that's like fucking Sans money, teaching money right there.
It was amazing. And I loved it because I've always loved networks. I still love networks. And I'm so happy that most people haven't switched from IP version 4 to IP version 6 because I can subnet in my head. I can supernet in my head. I mean, I know IP, like I know the whole protocol stack. I can read packets like I can read a damn book. If you started throwing IP version 6 shit at me, I'd be like, damn it.
Yeah.
I'm 53 years old. I'm probably too old to re-engineer that, you know?
Yeah, I've got a team because, I mean, I run a team of 5 guys that are, you know, that are on my team. And I've got probably one of the best network engineers. He's got like...
Oh, is he the best? Bring him on the show. Let's fucking compare.
He's from...
Just kidding.
He's from Norway, and he's fucking great.
Wins. Those Europeans are really good.
His name is Carl Gusten, and he sings in a deathcore black metal band, you know, cover band, and he's got fucking tattoos on his chin, down his throat. I mean, he looks like fucking Henry Rollins and Glenn Danzig from back in the day. You know,
I want to hang out with this guy.
Nicest fucking guy you'll ever meet. You'll never see him on camera and anything, but like fucking human roadblock HR was like going, well,
send him down to Mexico. I want to hang out with him.
He only has a high school fucking degree. And I'm like, well, that's in your standards. He has so many fucking Cisco certifications. I mean, he has so many, you know, like networking, you know, blah, blah. The motherfucker can network a damn Cat 6 cable or a Cat 5 cable into a toaster oven and get it to work. Fucking hire him. We're like, well, you'll be responsible for him. I'm like, yeah, he's one of my friends. I've known him from fucking DEF CON and Black Hat for years. Just fucking hire him. He only wants 30 hours a week. Like most of my guys are 30 hours a week because this is their fun fuck you money that they make. Because then, you know, when I need them, and I go tell them to go do something, they go do it, and then they come back to me with the results, you know, because that's kind of me being the manager now. So,
yeah,
you know, and it's like, you know, they're really good at what they do, and they don't need 40 hours a week. I mean, they have other jobs and other stuff that they're doing, and they don't need to be in the fucking office, and, you know, they get pretty decent benefits and whatnot. So, I mean, it is what it is. But, you know, I have a human disdain, you know, for human resources because those fuckers have always either tried to fire me, you know, or get rid of me. They've never really liked me, you know, because I don't follow the social norms, you know, of, you know, and I'm never going back to a fucking cube farm. I mean, you're not going to put me in a goddamn cubicle ever again. You know, it's like I built my own server room here at home. You know, I got everything that I need. As long as I have an internet connection, I can be wherever the fuck you want me in any time zone. I mean, you know, you're like, down. You know,
I went from IBM to Jask Software. We made Paint Shop Pro. Do you remember Paint Shop Pro?
Is that pre-Photoshop? Yeah, that's from.
Oh yeah. Well, you had 2 options, and this was when the Kodak cameras were first coming out. You had Photoshop at $1,200, or you had Paint Shop Pro.
Paint Shop Pro, yeah.
So, and it was
that's old school.
We were the top every month. You know, every month. This was the .com era, right? So every month they would release the top 10 most popular websites, and every month our site was there. So we were just pounded all the time, and I love that company. It was a great small company, innovative kind of culture. And then I went to that company. Then was bought by Corel. Corel is a French-Canadian company out of Ottawa, Canada. They made Corel Draw, Corel whatever. In my opinion, and it's just my opinion, shitty company. And so there was no way in hell I was going to work for that company. So then I went to work for US Bank. U.S. Bank, and I built their incident response team. They didn't have an incident response team at the time. It was a fantastic job. And then I went to, where did I go from there? Oh, UHG, United Health. Deployed laptop encryption to, I don't know, 46,000 laptops. And this was at a time when nobody was doing laptop encryption.
Yeah.
Then I bounced, continued. So, and the point is, your feelings on HR, I was kind of the same way. I didn't like HR, but the HR team that we have, they're amazing. I was just today, I was on our team's channel, and they're so damn supportive of our team. We have a great culture at FR Secure and our HR team. So what I'm saying is, not all HR people are bad. I know some really good ones, and I'm really
I'm not
grateful
saying all of them
for
are bad,
them.
but all the ones I've ever worked with. I mean, like, even the people I work with now at HR, they're just like going, they're just,
well, you're dealing with government HR, man, right?
Yeah, it's even worse because they're in the blackmail business. That's what they're trying to do, is blackmail you, and have, and I talked to the really cool HR guy, not the girl, because for some reason, it's always the HR
I don't talk to girls
that comes to
Just
me.
kidding.
I don't know why, but always the HR guy comes to me and goes, "Well, Chip, we can't have you doing this, this, and this." And I'm like going, "What are you talking about?" And they're like going, "Well, you can't do these certain things." I haven't been doing those certain things in a decade, since I put this mask on, and I've had multiple masks over the years, and I've had to hide all this stuff. And it's all like, fucking trivial bullshit to me. It's like going, dude, I've taken all of your little Mindcast videos about cybersecurity and all the stuff that you're doing to check the little boxes on your forms to make you feel happy. Okay, let me go do my job, which is the real job. Why? And then my boss told him what I do every day, and they have not contacted me yet in 3 years, because he basically gave him the big, huge middle finger, told him to go fuck off, leave Chip and his team alone, because this is the hellscape that, he fights every day, and I'm on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I get paid for 40 hours, but I almost basically end up working about 90,
Dude, leave the government. Come work in the private sector. You don't have to be on call 24.
Yeah, it's like they woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
And you can make twice the money and actually have the freedom to do the mission the way you want to do it, man.
Well, that's the thing, is I'm fighting a government machine, don't get me wrong, but here's the deal, is that it's government. It's slow, and one of my major contracts is with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, and we're making some major headway on protecting trains, planes, and automobiles. Because I interviewed with Dracos, and they were just like going, "We can't afford you." They were like, "We can't even afford you." So the company that hired me actually does a lot of they're called Allied, security. Nice people, love them to death. I've never had a problem with them. They've treated me very well. But some of the issues and some of the stuff that I fight, because I work very closely with the SOC, work very closely with the network team and the security team. It's kind of like I wear many, many, many hats, and I really enjoy it. I really like it, and I've got really good, smart people that are dedicated to the cause and to the mission. It's just that, we fight a government machine of hurry up and wait, slow budgets, a slow response time, and that is starting to change because maritime is a really huge, gigantic cyber target, just like any part of any other infrastructure that's out there. And it's the regulation, they've regulated themselves into basically submission, and now they're deregulating a lot of stuff to where they can actually get stuff done. So it's a very, snake eating its tail weird kind of thing.
Yeah.
But,
I hate the politics, man.
And that's the thing, it is politics. There's a lot of politics. Yeah.
Even going after any federal work after just a few projects, because I was like, none of you motherfuckers are here to do things the right way.
Yeah.
You're all here to do things for whatever political reason you have, and I'm not going to, hell no.
Yeah.
Nope.
And some people get used to it, some people don't, and sometimes it is very disheartening, because it's like, I created this whole really cool project called Project Aether, and I worked for the NIH and the CDC for 5 years, and then all through COVID, and I pitched it and I pitched it and I pitched it and I pitched it. And they said, okay, finally, I think I annoyed them enough to where they were like, shut the fuck up and just do it. Okay. And I said, okay, let me do it. So they unleashed me, they kind of let me out of the box, and I said, I'm going to literally use what JSOC, Joint Special Operations Command, trained me to do, for a lot of their red teaming. And I'm just going to do this to the OT network. And I'm just going to put it in this huge report and take it right back to them. Because they didn't have, the Clarities, the Nozomis, the, Dracoses that were there, and I grabbed all of it. And that's what I'm really good at. I'm really good at finding the CVEs and the stuff that you haven't patched and all those skeletons you think you buried in a closet. I'm really good at finding that. I mean, that's what I'm trained to do. So, and I found all their holes, all their, like Java 6.4.5 that they haven't patched, all their Red Hat servers that, have been not patched in like 14 fucking years. The one that blew me away was that I found a lady that was working on, had been working for almost 25 years on the protein alkaloids for HIV. So she had been working, with, how they're going to solve HIV and the treatment of HIV and everything. She was so paranoid that she would back up on an external hard drive and jump drives all of her data and take it home and put it on our home computer. And I was like, just unplug the computer, bring it in. You're not in any trouble. We're not going to yell and scream at you, but we'll get it all set up to where you will not, she knew how bad the network was and how bad their cloud and how bad their backups were and how they couldn't retrieve backup. She literally had like 25 years worth of HIV, research on her fucking home computer. I mean, I was like going, we can get this fixed, trust me, but I mean, like that report literally spawned damn near legislation to come out, at the NIH, because it was like, hi there, here are all your sins, and
Right.
they just, literally it was like a diamond coming out of a goat's ass, and diarrhea just fell all over the floor.
Diamond coming out of a, I'm going to have to use that.
And,
I might use that in a meeting tomorrow.
Good. I have tons of them. And this is the reason why they don't like me at my job, because it's like, hi there, I found all your problems. And they just shit themselves because, they're like, oh, and then it turns into the whole, well, we'll get that on the next, audit, or we'll get that the next fix around. And I'm like going, no, you won't. If
Right.
your red team works with your blue team, if you want to use all the fucking colors, I don't give a shit. But, really your attackers and the people that are doing your surveillance, your counter surveillance, your counterintelligence into your systems, or looking at your systems, or looking at the patching of your systems, or not patching of your systems, we give that information to you, to your SOC, to your NOC, to your SOC, to your upper level, C level, whatever the fucks, and you disseminate that information on how you want your teams to go fix it, right? And that's been the biggest problem in industries because it's so vendor driven, and, it's really hard to control alt delete a fucking power plant. I mean, you take it offline and it fucks up. It's really hard to spin one of those sons of bitches back up, as I tell people. So you really
kind of like a mainframe.
Yeah, it's not like a fucking computer, that I'm dealing with here. Like, if I turned off all the power to your fucking city and killed off all the electrical and all the water and the water treatment all at the same time, you got about 3 to 4 days before things get really fucking dicey and feral, and people go fucking apeshit.
I don't even think it's that long, man, because people panic.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I've seen over the years in the hundreds of incident responses that I've done. Some cases, very, very big incidents, some cases, just kind of run of the mill, is the inability for people to use logic because emotion has overwhelmed them.
Oh, yeah.
Fear, anger, frustration. I mean, so if you just cut cell phone service for all of the United States.
Oh, my God, I can't use fucking Twitch. Oh, my God, I can't use fucking, Instagram, or I can't use fucking...
And they've done studies. They've done studies on this. They've done studies on what it does to the anxiety of people.
Yeah. I can't.
You and I are in an you and I are in a fortunate situation, honestly, and people in our age range, because we can remember what life was like before
Yeah.
I was so dependent on everything. So I still have skills in my own repertoire that if you cut power to this house right now, I'm going to be fine.
Yep.
If you cut power to this house right now, I'm going to be fine. If you cut cell service, I'm still going to be fine, because I remember those analog skills that so many people don't have anymore.
Yeah, and they want to do away with Potlines. Go figure it. I mean, it's, as I tell people, it just tickles me to death. It's like, I was born in the 70s, raised in the 80s, and rocked out during the 90s. It's like, look, I mean, country boy here can survive. I mean, it's like I have slept in dirt, in different countries that you can't even fucking imagine. I mean, I have seen shit that you would never, you see in horror movies that are for real. I have seen the evil things that man can do to man.
And even beyond the skills, I think a lot of times when you use your head, when you use logic, you can find the out in everything.
Yeah. I mean, and you have
I actually like incidents. In most of the incidents, now I've handed it off and I don't do incident response anymore. I'm not on call anymore because I have a great team that does that. But it was never lost. You've done it enough times that I never freaked out.
Yeah.
Ever. And I would walk into an incident response and people would they'd accuse me of not caring. I'm like, why would you think I don't care? They're like, well, because you're not freaking out. I'm like, would it be better if I freaked out? Well, no. Well, then shut the fuck up. I'm here.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah. I mean,
right.
I tell people, it's interesting to watch people feed off emotions, because you'll literally see them go
fucking dog.
And it's a trained skill not to know and not to panic. You know, and I've said that a million times. Like, if you know not how to panic in a panic situation, I mean, that's the reason why you have police officers and EMT. And it's not you're desensitizing yourself to the situation. It's like you're looking for the logical means to be able to get everybody to stop panicking and looking for a logical, consistent way to be able to get things fixed, And I swear to God, when I fucking retire one day, I'm going to stand up at a podium and I'm going to say, thank you so very much for this awesome reward. I cannot wait to thank Microsoft for the 25 years of all of their fucked up shit that I've had to fix. It's given me this great career in cybersecurity. Thank you, Bill Gates, for taking a fucking crowbar into a sand pile and turning it into a goddamn pretzel. Without all your fuck ups, I would not have this wonderful, awesome, reward that you've given me for my career and my retirement. Because it's like every Patch Tuesday turns into vulnerability fucking Wednesday, and then Fallout goddamn meetings on Thursday. I mean, that's literally what it's turned into. And I mean, it's like the CVEs and the stuff, they're getting a lot more creative because they've got a lot more creative tools to use, and you can call it AI, you can call it whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's turned into really that, we've really got to start looking at, from my standpoint, from an infrastructure standpoint of view, we're really going to have to start fixing our shit and stop saying we're fixing our shit when we're not fixing our shit. And yes, it is a green paper problem. I mean, it is. I've said this to Ryan. I've said this to Chris Roberts. I've said it, and I'll say it to fucking you. I've said it, I didn't make it to GERCON, but, one day I'll make it up there. But, I've said it's like, and I've said,
it's okay,
this
man. You'll be all right.
And this is the fun part. People will not, it's so funny is because Ryan is my agent, and he's trying to get me bookings at some of these, conferences. And it's like, they're afraid of you. They don't want you there. Why? Because you're going to call them out and tell them that, what the fuckery is that is abound that's happening, and you're going to embarrass them. And it's like, okay, I'll tone it down a little. Just
no.
No.
You don't turn it. You don't tone it. No. You don't tone it down. And that's just another thing that you and I have in common.
I'm like Spinal Tap. I turn that shit to 11, dude. I mean, that's just how I am. I mean, it's just because I'm very
all you
passionate
need to do is be authentic. Be authentic. You be you. You have a place in this world. You have a place in this industry, and people need to hear the truth, because I'm the same way.
And
I've been uninvited to so many damn meetings. I've been kicked out of board meetings before.
Yep.
I've been kicked out of conferences before.
Yep.
I've been not invited back before.
Yep.
But the fact of the matter is, every single time, because here's the thing, man. When you say my mission is to fix the broken industry, and so that requires that I tell you the truth.
Yeah.
It doesn't require that I tell you what you want to hear. So the fact of the matter is, when you're doing things wrong, I will tell you that you're doing things wrong. And there's so many stories along the way. So I'm going to encourage you, don't measure the success of your career on how many bookings Ryan gets you to conferences.
Oh, no. It's not only, that's just the fun,
I mean,
that's the
fuck
fun
that
part.
shit. That doesn't matter.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
the people that do end up being, the keynotes at those conferences is Robert Lee, Kevin Mandia, George Kurtz. No, not selling out, brother. Not going to do it. And I don't think you will either.
And I know that I won't, because, I mean, the thing, though, too, is a lot of people in the industry
Well,
are
if you
scared.
did, I would call it out, brother. I mean,
Yeah,
shit, you would do the same thing to me, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, the same thing. It's like, I've told people, it's like, you're trying to take Harley parts and put it onto a fucking, Ducati. And you're a motorcycle guy. I mean, I've seen your all during the shit show when you would go to like Daytona and those. The one I saw that always sticks in my mind was this blue one that was down in this parking garage. That was like the most fucking sexiest fucking bike ever. And it's like,
yeah, that was a nice bike.
That motherfucker probably cost more than this house. I mean, and I'm like sitting there going, that is an awesome looking bike. But it's like, I tell people that, the biggest thing that I'm saying that the last check mark in my industry before I retire one day, if I ever do retire, I'm probably going to die behind these screens, is what my wife jokes about, is that, there's two things that I want to see get done in the OT cybersecurity industry. One is get rid of our legacy-based systems that we're still on. I mean, we've seen this time and time and time again. These companies make billions, millions, and trillions of dollars, and they should be spending so much more on cybersecurity and their posturing and getting rid of these legacy-based systems. And it's finally coming. I mean, really, to be honest, and everybody knows that when I say this, they just kind of plug their ears. They know that the day has come. You can't run, a fucking pipeline off Windows XP anymore, there, kids. You can't run your city.
I've still seen some NT shit out there, brother.
Yeah. I mean, you can't use some of these older based systems to run, some of the stuff. And it's like, you definitely can't have fucking TeamViewer, on your water treatment facilities computers, because you are short staffed, and you got somebody that can remote in. Yeah, well, the evildoers can remote in too as well if they know what they're doing. So, and that's the thing is, one is get rid of the legacy shit. Yeah, it's a green paper problem. Yeah, it's going to take time. Yeah, it's going to take money. And yeah, it's fucking expensive. Yes, and the thing, though, too, is yes, we're going to burn through some taxpayer money and probably some federal and state money. I get it. I understand that. And the second thing that I'm trying to do before I die is to stop a lot of the, as you just said, you would run over one of your employees in the parking lot because if they tried to upsell them on bullshit, is the same thing that I'm doing now, is to say, okay, you got, and this is the big problem, and most people don't realize it, is you got General Electric's got a SQL server over here, and this has got a server over here, and this has got a server, and none of them are speaking the same protocols. None of them are assuming the same, network architecture. None of them are, there's no standardization. It's literally fucking Band-Aids on top of bullet wounds, and I mean, they're bleeding out. And, just this week, you've had one of the most major water power companies that's in 14 states, their billing system got hacked. And then now they're saying, oh, well, did, they get into the SCADA-based systems and were they able to pivot north, south, east, and west and and do all this? And I looked at it when within 10 minutes, I was like, yeah, they did.
Absolutely.
And they're like, going, well, you can't say anything about that. I'm like, why not? They're like, we don't want the media.
Anybody knows half a shit knows it already.
It's like, yeah.
And that's the thing about the attacks.
Your stuff's on flat switches. It's no different than being on a fucking hub, as I explained to them.
Well, and that's the thing, right? The attacks today, I was talking, to Oscar in the last episode. I don't know why they even call them ATPs, because there's no A.
Yeah.
There's no advanced. These are not novel attacks. We've made it so easy for them because we haven't followed the basics. One of the things, one of the things, security people do a lot is we posture, right? And so
yeah,
I was sitting at a table with a bunch of security, I guess, veterans, and we were posturing. It was a bunch of posturing. And one of the people said, well, I've consulted the last 4 presidential administrations on how to secure critical infrastructure. And I said because sometimes I forget the filter. And so I said without hesitation, that's awesome. Has the security of critical infrastructure gotten any better since you started consulting presidents? And to which the answer was basically fuck off.
No. And I can answer that question.
So this is what I said back to him too. You intended to impress me. What you actually did is you told me how shitty of a consultant you are. And how much you pissed away such a great opportunity that if you were sitting at that table truly with presidential administrations, you could have made a very significant impact on critical infrastructure.
Yeah.
And so that actually spurred something that I'm doing right now that you'll hear about eventually. And I'd love to have your input. And I'd love to have your help. And it's called Project Broken Mirror. And Project Broken Mirror starts with all the attacks, the most significant attacks, the ones that, when you look at all the things, right, we've made things so damn complex everywhere. And so if I'm thinking what we can't do is give critical infrastructure people, here's NIST CSF, follow this. What? They have no idea what the hell that means. They're not going to be able to do it. It's overwhelming. Hell, most of the people in our industry can't do it. So what I know, and I've done enough social engineering, done enough work over the years that I know that I can give most people two things. If I just gave you two things to do, that's it. And I'll do the first one for you. Basically, it's meeting them where they're at. Right.
Yeah.
And so if I were, when I think about all the risks and all the most, what's the most significant risk, the most likely way into the environments remotely, it's going to be something that's attached to the internet with single factor authentication.
Yeah.
That's going to be, and then that's meeting you where you're at. That's not where we stop. But now I've got your attention and we're just going to continue to work on it. I was talking to this same guy and I was like, this is where I would start. And he's like, you won't be able to do that. I'm like, what do you mean I won't be able to do that? I'm going to map the attack surface of the entire country.
Oh, that's kind of ambitious, but that'd be cool because guess what? You could do it.
Yeah, it's cool.
You could do it city by city, county by county, state by state.
Amen, brother. So I did 3,144 counties. That's how many counties we have in the United States. I did an attack surface on every one of them. And I used open source tools because I know another thing that I'm going to get as an excuse is, well, it's too expensive. Well, I had 6 VPS servers that I set up with my tools, and it cost me a total of $250.
Wow. That's awesome.
And so you'd think that, well, and this was another thing I was concerned about. As I was going into this, I was like, well, do I need to insert proxies into this, architecture? I'm a little concerned going into this that I'm going to burn a whole bunch of IPs. Out of the 3,144 counties that I mapped the attack surface, I only burned 2 IP addresses.
Not surprised at all. That is not.
And the reason why I chose counties was because I needed to people don't understand our language, so I needed to put something on a graphic. I need to put it on a map that you could see the map and you could see your county on that map. And so I plotted it all on a map, and then I went to CISA. I said, here.
I bet Jen Easterly was pissing herself.
They all were. I mean, I don't know if it went up to Jen Easterly, but essentially I got no traction. So then I gave a talk that next month in Montana. And the title of my talk was, what the fuck is CISA doing?
Nothing.
And so I got a whole bunch of calls from CISA, like, what are you doing? And I'm like, why aren't we these are basics. This is so fundamental. I'm going to map the attack surface of the entire country. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because it gets people involved. People need to know what we look like from the outside. Our attackers already know. You don't think China, Russia, Iran, North Korea already know this? Because that was another, I know. And that was another deflection I got. Well, you don't have authorization. I'm like, I don't need fucking authorization. Exactly, no. Man. So I'm going to enlist you to help me with this.
The problem that I fight with is because it's like, we talk in the government all types about defensive software. We are a very knee-jerk reaction United States society, okay?
I know.
We're really good at dealing with the defense. But when we talk about offensive, and it's like, well, you can't do that. It's like, well, the fucking evildoers are doing it. Why can't I? They're not asking permission going, hi there, can I hack your water treatment facility? They're not fucking asking you to do that.
And can you give me even an appropriate time window for me to do this when it's not production time? And can you just give me the scope for they don't follow any of that stuff.
Yeah, they don't give two shits less about, your window of time, any of that stuff. And, you know, I've tried to explain it like this. CISA, Jen Easterly could stand at my fucking doorway and scream at me till she's goddamn blue in the face. She can't do anything because they can't authorize fines to do anything. So you have this huge regulatory body, right, that's supposed to be talking about fucking infrastructure across the United States, but they cannot audit and they cannot go in and fine, you know, one company. You know, they can't do that. So
I'm still here.
That's fine. That's fine. You know, they can't go in there and issue a fine to, like, you know, Tennessee Valley Authority, like, improve your shit, you know, because it's paper fucking thin, you know, or BG&E, you know, they can't go to, or Texas. Oh my God, fuck Texas. Texas is being held together by fucking straw, you know, and, you know, hope and, you know, faith that something doesn't go wrong in Texas. Their power grid.
That's the entire country, though, man. I mean, the entire country is living that way.
Yeah, and the only way that you can get something for like this to happen is to have an incident where there's death and dismemberment, which I don't want, and people, you know, people to get hurt and die, which I don't want, and people to lose profitability money, you know, and have things blow up, and, you know, the evildoers then therefore win because they've sowed chaos and dissent throughout. So the only real people that can do anything is the fucking Justice Department, the DOJ, to come out there and say, okay, we're going to issue $1 million fine a day until you get your shit fixed. Okay, well, that then would get some fucking traction. Because, you know, guess what? Somebody's then got to do something. Hell, we can't even get the government to fucking fix password issues. I mean, that's been around for 30 years and we can't even fix that shit. I mean, I've been doing this professionally since 1994, and we still have not fixed fucking password issues. Fuck Capula and two-factor authentication. We can't even get that shit set right. So you mean to tell me that, you know,
that's why I'm, dude, and I know that, you know, because I know that you're at this stage in your career too. You and I are both in our stage in our career where we're like, fuck it, I'm going to do the right thing.
Yep.
And I don't care if people are angry with me. I don't care what you think of me, because at the end of the day, it's the right thing to do. So that's why I'm doing Project Broken Mirror. I don't need anybody behind me on it, because the fact of the matter, this is the community who's going to do it. It's not going to be Evan. It's not going to be the government. I can't count on the government to protect me.
No,
they won't. They can't.
I have said this since, you know, Hurricane Katrina, since I was down there. You know, and I was working for a healthcare company, and they sent me down there, and I was like, there's fucking nothing I can do. I mean, it's all gone. It's all under fucking seawater. Did your DR plan work? No. Did this work? No. Did that work? No. I mean, yeah, it's like, you know, they're literally running off paper records, you know, and, you know, and as a OT guy, you know, when I came back to the United States, the two things that I said that needed the most help were healthcare and, you know, the banking industry, you know, and that was in 2015. And that is still true today. The banking industry and, you know, the healthcare industry are the most Doric-based models that you will ever fucking see, because all of them follow the same rules. They have these horrible Doric rules. But if you know how to bob and weave through them, you know what? You can get shit done.
Let me ask you this. If you were a terrorist, where would you attack the United States, cybersecurity wise?
Well, I can't say that because
I'll tell you mine, and I want to see how it compares to yours.
Okay. I'm under a lot of NSLs and, you know, a lot of those things that will get me put in federal fucking prison. Hell, I can't even talk about cybersecurity unions, because if I say cybersecurity
just another reason for you to come to the private sector, Chip. Get the fuck out of the government. I'm telling you, man. Because I'll tell you where I would attack, and I've said it before, I would attack the food.
Okay,
I would totally go after ag, because, oh my God, nobody's watching.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I could, and when you fuck with people's food, man, it causes a hell of a panic. And I could do a hell of a lot of damage.
And it's a non-renewable resource. It has to be it's a grown resource. I will agree with that. And food supply is limited. It's limited to geological and geographical areas.
Fuck with people's food or water, and
you
you're
know,
in trouble.
And it's the same thing that I talk about gas, you know, especially nuclear. Nuclear is very scary. I mean, they're about to turn 3 Mile Island and give it to fucking Microsoft to run their goddamn AI. I mean, 3 Mile Island, I mean, seriously, for you kids that are out there that don't know what the fuck that is, start Googling now. but it literally was the United States version of fucking Chernobyl. And we're going to hand it over and turn it over to Microsoft. What? Way to fucking think ahead there, people. But as I tell people, there's 57 nuclear reactors throughout the continental United States. That's, if you really want to cause death and dismember look at that industry. And if you think that, that China, Russia, the Iranians, love the Iranians, the BRICS nations, they haven't looked at hacking nuclear reactors and what Westinghouse has got installed in all of them, and General Electric's got installed all of them, and then not run those CVs and packets that are out there and run a ton of the shit again that, Volt Typhoon has taught us, which nobody is talking about except for me. It seems like on LinkedIn, I'm screaming and yelling and putting the CVs
now you and I are both
out
talking
there.
about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been putting it out there like these are the CVs you need to start patching for immediately. And it's like we've been doing this since February, since we found out the Chinese were actually fucking doing it. And it's like going, wow, they could literally blow up if they wanted to, an electrical facility or in turn a hydroelectric facility that could generate into, water, a dam, right? Or a nuclear power plant. Because in simulation on this machine back here, I've done it, and I showed it to the government, and they just freaked the fuck out. And as usual, la 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 la. Chip showed us evil things. La 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 la. What do? We immediately classify it. Classified. It's like, okay, well, that went fucking down the toilet. Thanks for cutting me the check, DARPA. So I showed you. That's what you can do. Even
sadly, I mean, going back, I mean the way humans work, man. I don't know. There was a class that I took in my freshman year in college. I did go to college, but I graduated with a degree in geology.
Okay.
I don't know.
So?
Well, it's because somebody told me that the geology projects that we did was you dig up rocks all day and you party all night. So I was like, sign me up. I'll do that one. But, there was a class. It was a 100 level class, right? Lowest level. Everybody had to take it. It was for all majors, and it was a psychology class, intro to psychology. And in that class, Pavlov's, his theory.
Yep.
And it was the dogs, right? The dogs. And there's only two ways really to motivate people other than just what people do unconsciously, reward or pain.
Uh-huh.
And I saw this in healthcare in 2010, 2012, when they had meaningful use requirements. Healthcare wasn't doing shit. I mean, HIPAA was passed in 96. The security rule was finalized in 2003.
Yeah,
they weren't doing shit about it.
And they weren't doing anything with the 852 or the 853 at all. All, people. This goes back years. Right. They didn't do shit.
But meaningful use came around in 2010-ish, and there was a reward. The last meaningful use requirement, if you wanted a reimbursement for implementing electronic health records technology, was to do an information security risk assessment. And oh my God, now everybody's doing information security risk assessments. Now,
and you know as well as I do, coming from healthcare, Epic and Cerner and all those companies jumped the fuck all over it. They said, we will unleash, our sales teams and create some hodgepodge, whatever the fuck application plug-in that will work with our system that you pay a couple more $1 million for, and it'll gladly do this for you, so you get reimbursements and money back. Basically, it was a fuck you to the industry to saying, hey, we can drain the bank accounts of, other companies from being able to put out unmeaningful, undoable, fuckable shit. That's all it was.
Right. Well, and fortunately, FR Secure was there kind of at that time, but we were very small, and we had a ton of healthcare business at that time. Because the thing about FR Secure is it's all about mission, always. And the mission is driven emotionally and logically by the hatred of seeing people get taken advantage of. I hate that.
Oh, I can't stand that. I mean, because I'm poor. That's just in me, because I saw people taking advantage of me.
It primarily happens from two different angles, though, man. Yeah. It happens from our attackers, right? They take advantage of us. But then we also have the wolves in sheep's clothing within our industry, the vendors who sell you shit you don't need, you can't use, doesn't work, and gives you this false sense of security. Now, the number one rule in information security, number one rule by far, is situational awareness.
Trust and verify.
The same thing with physical security, the same thing with logical security, the same thing with life. It's situational awareness. Understand the situation you're in, understand what's going on around you, understand the threats that are applicable, understand your weaknesses, be able to compensate. I mean, that's how it works. And logically, you won't ever be able to change that.
Right.
That's how it works.
That's the reason why they say, oh, by the way, the rights of egress on the, the exit sign for your safety is on these sides of the walls. I mean, it's the same thing. Yeah, and I totally agree with you because, I got so sick of seeing companies that I were working for. I was like, look, these people are screwing us over, and here's the reasons why. And I would tell them the reasons why. And it was like, go shut up and sit down. We're still going to spend the money to go do it. I'm like, okay, well, you're not going to get your bang for your buck. And, and
beyond the fact that they just wasted money,
pissed me off.
The second thing is you've just eroded a portion, if not all of your situational awareness, because now you have a false sense of security.
Well, that was the same thing.
I would rather just know that I have no security and that I just suck versus thinking I have great security and have no security and suck.
And I was like you've taken this blanket of false security and you've just wrapped yourself all up in it and you're so cozy, thinking that it's okay. But honestly, deep down inside, when you go to sleep at night, knowing it's not okay, and
you're not watching the front door now.
Yeah. And that's the reason why it pissed me off so much is because I guess it's because I grew up with nothing, and I was told I was nothing and, you're shit. You'll always be shit. You will, you've grown up in shit. Your family's tried to elevate you, but you're dumb and this is stupid. And that's the thing that just drives me from my little 5-year-old temper tantrum on the inside to say, look, I'm proving to you that this issue is really
it's fucking dog.
Puppy.
You won't leave me alone.
Yeah. I mean, it's proving that, look, this is the real problem and issue that you're having. And you're wasting time, which is the number one thing that I can't stand because you don't never get time back, and you're going to waste resources and money for something I know that's going to fail. And there's nothing in my world that makes me more happy. And it's this little sick thing, that some psychologist probably needs to diagnose in my life to where I love saying, I told you so. It's like, look, dude, I told you so. Like, I told you this is going to hurt, sticking a fork inside the electrical socket, you're going to learn it was going to hurt,
and so that goes back to
pain.
When it goes, well, that right, there's the first thing that motivates people is reward. The second thing is pain. If it hurts too much, you're sort of forced to make a difference. But the cool thing about you and the thing that I respect about you, because this is the first time we've met, is the fact that you tell the truth. It's okay. Because one of the things, I never want to be known for, and I've got friends who are going through difficult times. I've always had friends that are going through difficult times. I was talking to the president, actually the CEO of FR Secure, because I don't have a title there anymore. I'm just kind of this old sage in the corner that I think they try to just push out of the way. But I asked him, I go, John, am I the guy who's always telling people what everybody's thinking, but nobody wants to say? Is that me? He's like, yeah, that's what people like about you. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, it took me this long to figure that out. But because one of the things that's going to be important, I think, for you and me, Chip, and others in our industry who have this wisdom about us, who have been in this industry for a while, is we don't ever want somebody to come back to us and say, I wish you would have told me.
Oh, I'm going to tell you. Yeah, I'm like,
exactly.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you.
Because then I don't sleep well at night. Was there something? Because our number one core value, too, and I keep saying FR Secure just because it's, it's kind of where I started my life, I guess.
I mean, you're the motherfucker that put the whole thing together. You should take, pride in that. I mean,
Thanks, man.
It's like.
But our number one core value is to tell the truth.
Yeah.
And we will hire and fire by that. These aren't, a lot of companies have core values and they're like, yeah, just core values, marketing bullshit. No, it's serious. So number one is tell the truth. And I remind everybody all the time, there are two types of lies. There's lies of commission. That's where I tell you something that's not true.
Correct.
Those ones are easy to pick out. And those ones are honestly easier for me to control as a human, to not tell you things that aren't true. The second one is the lies of omission. A live omission is when there's something I should have told you that I didn't tell you. That's just as bad.
That not worse, you know.
So
And
let's strengthen each other. Let's hold each other up,
yeah,
brother,
I
because
mean,
I will encourage you to keep doing that.
and the thing that has been the most hurtful to me is that, you know, it's like, oh well, we know about that. Well, okay, if you knew about it, why did I find it again? And I keep finding. I
Right.
mean, it's a repetitional thing, and that's what, you know. It's just like when you're raising your kids. You know, if you have children, you know, I told you not to
I
do
have
it. And
I
you
have
need.
5 kids.
Well, I got one, and it's like,
I have 8 grandkids.
oh my God, your granddad. You know, so I mean,
We're really good at sex around here.
yeah,
Chip.
that's good. You know,
Unprotected, I guess.
yeah. So I mean, it's like I tell my child, like, I told you not to do it, and you did it anyway, right? So, you know, and you did it, and you got hurt, or something bad happened. So, first question comes off my lips, and she hates it when I do this. What did you learn? You know, what's the first? You know, what's the first she realizes? And she's gonna, like, yeah, Dave's gonna say, what did I learn? And I said, because if you're gonna be dumb, you're gonna be tough. You know, if you're gonna be dumb, you got to be tough. And she hates that fucking song when I put it on YouTube on my phone and I play it around her when she's done something dumb. Because it's like, you got fucking hurt, told you not to do it, you did it anyway, and you were acting dumb, and guess what? You got to be tough. So either you can turn on the waterworks if you want to, but you should choke it back because you learned something. Because guess what? But if it was something I told you and you tried anyway, you said, Daddy, I'm going to try this, and I might get hurt, and I'm, you know, blah, blah. I'll give you that, okay? Because guess what? You were going into something that you didn't know that you could do, and maybe you learned something and got a skill out of it, right? But if you're just doing something to be dumb, you know, you got to be fucking tough. And you know, and I've told this tough love conversation to the people I work with, and it's like, look, if you go out there and you do this dumb shit, you better be tough, because guess what? You're going to have to own this up to somebody eventually. Eventually, it
Right.
might not be me, you know, because I'm the, you know, the subcontractor or the contractor that's working for you. And I'm telling you, you know, my check still comes on the 1st, 15th, and 30th. It doesn't fucking matter to me. What it really does matter is to you, because I'm telling you, for your safety and for your career and for you should really take a look and fix some of this stuff, because guess
Right.
what? If you're going to be dumb, better be tough.
Well, and the title for this episode is, you know, No More Excuses, Fixing the Basics. And one of the things that my father taught me as a Marine and as an only child, it sort of sucked to be an only child because there was nobody else to point fingers at.
Oh yeah, I had
No.
nobody to blame.
When
Except
shit hit the
me.
fan, it was like, okay. And my father taught me that shitty choices have consequences.
Oh yeah.
And so in my house, there was accountability. In our industry, there's no accountability.
Oh, there's none whatsoever.
And that's why we're in the shit show that we're in right now. That's why there are so many excuses. That's why the basics aren't fixed. That's why people like you and me are so damn frustrated. Who's going to fix this shit?
Who's going to fix it? Yeah. I mean, you know,
I'll fix it for you, but you're not listening to me.
yeah, and that's the thing is, I mean, I deal with trains, planes, automobiles, you know, maritime and whatnot. And it's like, you know, I'm going to give you an example here about less accountability. Okay. So in maritime, there's something that's called ship to shore relay. So in other words, there's a ship that
Shit.
ship, SHIP, ship.
Shit.
Nope,
Not shit.
not shit. Ship.
I like ship. Okay. Okay, good.
Ship to shore relay systems. This is what all of the tracking that's used in
That's
lower
my dry
orbit.
humor, by the way, Chip. I'm just kind of a weirdo like that.
Yeah, that it's used in high and low orbit on the buoys that are based out inside the ocean. So the ocean's got these buoys that are out there that keep, you know, your maritime ships that are moving all of your cargo from, let's say, Spain, Portugal, you know, wherever it may be, in China, Japan, whatnot, into the United States. Same thing, United States outward, wherever it may go. So these relay systems and everything are supposed to be, you know, like Switzerland. That's the best way I say. They're neutral. In other words, you know, it keeps it to where the satellite of that company, you know, can see where their ship is in the ocean. And if it's off by even nanoseconds, that can be 300 to 500 miles to 50 feet. I mean, you never know, right? So, I figured out very easily how to hack into these ship-to-shore relay systems, that are actually out there that are in higher and lower orbit, just from here on my fucking home computer that I'm speaking to you on. I was like going, okay, these systems are out there. They're not privately owned, so they've got to be publicly accessible, or at least they have to be accessible to where the general people would be able to see them. So I started my hunt, right? So in other words, you're talking about generalities. So that was too general.
How sophisticated was this hack
Not
chip?
very all.
Exactly.
Not at all.
That's the
Most
sad
of
thing.
these are still using these older protocols that were built back into the 90s. If you remember, the old, BACnet, if you still remember, and, some of the old UDP versus TCP and TMP, routing tables that some of this stuff actually uses on how packets move back and forth. It's like, okay, I see what they're doing. Just because I can see the network traffic that's coming through. So where does the network traffic go from? Where does it go to? How is it relayed back and forth? And then how I can connect it to this. So this is what happened. So back in 2013, this is a dirty little secret that, that most people don't know about in the world, is that during the war in Syria, the Assad regime decided that they wanted to use, the ship-to-shore relay systems to be able to steal cargo that was originally going to Palestine of an industrial-grade farm fertilizer. So what they did was they used the ship-to-shore relay system like I did, and they knocked a ship completely offline with malware. They locked down a ship that had just basically industrial-grade farm fertilizer, And what they did was they did it close enough to where it was in international waters and used the tide to where it would be pulled into Syrian waters, and therefore the Syrian government took over this ship that had all this fertilizer on it. They were nice enough to take the staff and everybody that was on there, the captain and everybody, put them on a plane, send them home, but then took that fertilizer and guess what they used it for? Bombs.
Explosives.
Very big fucking bombs, and used it in their war. So if you using that as a
think Omaha bombing for all the listeners.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you think Omaha bombing, or you think anything, that Timothy McVeigh did, that's just nothing compared to what, they were doing.
Right. Yeah, because
So,
they didn't have as much as these guys do now.
yeah, they had a shit ton. So that being my prerequisite and the
That reminds me,
prefaces.
sorry, man, that's what went off in Beirut, isn't it?
Oh, yes. So,
And you saw the videos of that. Holy shit.
That's just an example of what, happened in that Syria was doing. That was stuff that they actually got back, that they had confiscated back, from the ship. When it finally got released, they put it back in international water, turned the malware off, and let the ship go back, to Beirut. But guess what? They took the fertilizer off, and then it caught fire, and then kaboom! You saw what happened there. So that's the kind of fertilizer that they're using to make these bombs in 2013 to use to be able to bomb, in their war that Assad was using,
Right.
against his regimes. So I mean, it was just one of those things like going, okay, that's the preface of what I want to try to do. Let's see if I can do this from home. So in other words, as you talk about a generality, I took it down to a very specific thing. What did they do? How did they do it? And then exactly what were they using that's still publicly accessible today? Because the Syrians are not necessarily known for being a really fucking technical culture, right? So they had to use low-end tech, low-end ways of doing this. So I was like going, okay, this is where I started mind mapping stuff out. How would I do this? So literally, I did it, and then I did it in simulation, and I tested it, and I was like going, okay, it's plausible. Let's try it in reality to see if it's possible.
Right.
Yeah, it's possible.
Of course
and
it is.
then it gets classified, and then it gets buried in the secret world that it is today. But guess what? A lot of that's become declassified because, we want these systems that are supposedly used for the betterment of all shipping lanes in the United States and across the world to be neutral, right? So we need to lock them down to where, a company or a country can't hack them, and then on top of that, those systems that are being used with all these satellites that we have going across this wonderful planet, is that, they need to be standardized for some of those systems from a basic security protocol, a basic standard of use and misuse of what is good and what is bad. Same thing that we're facing in the vendor sprawl, as we see a lot in the industry of OT, is everybody's got a different system. Everybody's got a different setup. ABB's doing one thing, Siemens doing one thing, General Electric's doing another, yada, yada, yada. There's no standardization of protocols, systems, ports, even. I mean, from a networking, but guess what? It all goes to the same SQL server, or it all goes to an open SQL server, or something like that. So it's still building into a database, no matter where it may be, and
Yep.
most of those are on-prem. So it's like, okay, why is it that you guys can't all fucking decide as an industry, let's use 80, 80, 443, 22, instead of doing everything
Right.
flat? Why is it we can't have level 2 and level 3, network inspection done? Because guess what? That's free. That costs you nothing, right? Because in OT, we only...
It's the same thing in the information security industry, just in general, not even applied to the, this specific. There's so much fighting within our industry. We run into the same thing just with information security consulting, right? Where everybody's willing to kill each other over the competition of the 10% who are actually doing something, as opposed to working together to go get the 90% who aren't. In terms of the total addressable market, pure economics would tell you that there's a better return in working together, yet people feel so threatened that they won't do it. It's the same thing with, I was really pissed off about the people calling themselves VCSOs in our industry. So I was like, okay, I'm pissed off about it, but that's how I usually work, right? I just kind of tolerate until I get to a point where that was the last straw. And so the last straw for this was, there was a presentation being given to 29 tribal colleges that were trying to identify a VCSO service that they wanted to invest in. And there are 3 companies that were presenting to these guys. The first one was a consulting company out of MIT. The first question from these tribal colleges was, tell me how your VCSO services work. And so the MIT company answers first and says, well, essentially we sell you a block of hours and you draw from that block of hours as you need things done. Okay. The next company, which was this large, I guess, company out of Canada, it was their turn to answer. And they said, well, we basically do things the same way. And then it was FR Secure's turn. And I was brought there. I think they tricked me, actually. I think they engineered me, because there were other people from FR Secure that I think they told me that they wanted me to be there just to observe. But hell no.
No.
I have to say something. So I said, because John was there, I said, John, do you mind if I take this answer? He's like, no, go ahead. I think he planned it this way. I said, we don't fucking do it that way. Why would that's the shittiest way to do VCSO services, because number one, you take on all the risk as the customer. I'm incented to take as many hours as possible to get shit done, which isn't in your best interest. Number two, what you really need out of a VCSO is leadership. Right. You don't have any information security leadership. You have no idea what the fuck you're doing. So why would I just become an order taker, for you? What you need is me to tell you to recommend the risk decisions that you make. And number two or three, I guess, is for me to implement those risk decisions. So the way we do VCSO services is it has to start with, where are we at? What the fuck are we working with? How could I ever make a recommendation to you on how to improve your information security if I don't even know what the fuck you're doing?
Well, that was
asking me, it's like telling me, as your auto mechanic to fix your car without ever letting me diagnose what's wrong with it.
Yeah, they have a diagnosis machine that tells you the error codes for a reason. I mean, on a car. I was a virtual CISO for 8 months, and it was probably one of the most craziest experiences in my entire life, because I got blamed for everything that went wrong.
Chip, you fucked it up, man. Why did you do that?
Well, it was always that conversation. It started off exactly like that every single time. And what we were doing was we were taking the state of Montana's healthcare record system, state-owned healthcare record system. which was on an old, Cray server that had been there since the 70s. I mean, it was so fucking old, it was ridiculous. And
Did you keep it? I want that server. Can you
No, it
get
was
it for me?
scheduled for, field destroy after we got done. But what they wanted to
I
do
could
was,
heat my house with that thing.
yeah, they wanted to go to Google. And I said, okay. So I
Fuck
did,
Google.
some phone calls and everything. I said, yeah, we could do this for you. So what we did was we got two 18-wheelers full of their Canary devices to drink everything off their network for about a week, and we moved every healthcare record, from...
Well, I'm going to interrupt you real quick. Keep talking. Tell the rest of the story. I have to let a dog out of the room because he's whining, and I have no wife here to fix this. So you keep talking. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So we had to do a lift and shift of all of their healthcare records from 1870 until, that day. And that was everything from, blood testing down to pregnancy tests, down to anything that was in the government, space for the state's healthcare system. So we had to do the lift and shift of getting all of that data from, there into Google. And Google gave them like, I think 12 racks, permanently, but, so that we could move all of their data and do their data shift. And I mean, anything that just went wrong with that project, whether it be a dropped IP address or a record gone wrong, I got blamed for everything as being a virtual CISO. And I was like, really, honestly, what I'm here to do is to give you the leadership, not the technical expertise that you're actually asking for. You have technicians that do that. My job is to give you the leadership and telling you what you need to do for your security for these things. Yeah. And finally, the state, it clicked in their mind, hey, this guy's not here for some political purpose. This guy's here to tell us what the fuck to do for our security.
Wants to help us.
And once they kind of got that whole initial thing, because I mean, I am kind of rough around, normal people because I...
No, you're not. Come on, Chip.
Yell and scream, cuss,
you're tearing yourself down, Chip. Come on.
So I,
you're
I was
just like everybody else.
So I was in, this boardroom with these CEOs from Montana, from the state, and I was like, look, let me tell you what my fucking job is here. My job here is not to tell you the technical bullshit that you're going to get from fucking Google. That's Google. My job is to get the safety and the security of the records and the data to where it's not hackable by China or ends up on fucking 4chan. So take your pick. What do you want? Do you want the technical mumbo jumbo crap? Or do you really want me to give you the safety and the security about, getting your stuff moved into the Google space so that you can do all the shit on Chromebooks and do all your sheets and everything and have all your Gmails from the state and blah, 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 all set up the way that you want it? What do you want, A or B? And that was the first meeting I had with them, and they were like, fuck yeah, man, we want B, brother. That's what we want.
So here's the fact of the matter, too. Your security is so bad, it's not even ready for 4chan. It's going to be on 3chan.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Maybe 2chan. I mean, maybe you don't even make a damn chan. That's how bad it is.
That was the example I gave them, and they just were just shocked because they didn't expect a virtual CISO, and I don't do the suit and tie thing. After years of doing it, I just don't fucking do it. I mean, I'm a blue jeans and t-shirt, wash and wear kind of guy, and and here I come in.
I actually prefer to be nude, but I get arrested for that now.
I mean, like, I wasn't even fucking wearing a polo. Like, they flew me up there, and I mean, I literally was in a pair of just jeans, and I walked in there, I'm like going, look, you never are going to see me ever again after this meeting today. It's virtual for a reason. And the only reason I'm up here is because they sent me up here and to give you the warm, fuzzy feeling that you know what it is that I look like beyond the mask. Right. And they were like, okay, we get it. And I was like going, do you want A, technical mumbo jumbo ship that I can throw at you all day long? Or do you actually want leadership to give you where you need to be in your security posturing? And they're like, B. And I'm like, okay, good. I'm going to tell you what you need to do, and you're going to leave me alone, and I'm going to have your technicians do it. And if your technicians don't do it, it's not on me.
Right. Well, and like I said, like I was saying with this, I've known this for a long time because our own history with the vCISO program, or vCISOs just in general, when I started FR Secure, there were a lot of people that were paying me to be their vCISO. And essentially we were doing it that way. They were paying me $5,000 a month that we had, I had maybe 10 customers at the same time that I was servicing personally. And so bringing in plenty of revenue, what's that, 50 grand a month? That's $600,000 a year. And I couldn't figure out why I didn't feel good about this. I was like, what the fuck's wrong with me? And so I finally dawned on me that I'm not doing shit. And so I went to each one of my customers that I was working with. I'm like, why are you paying me? They said, well, because you're our VCSO. I'm like, what am I doing for you? And they said, well, we like the fact that we have you on retainer when we need you. I'm like, okay. Here's the truth. Here's the truth. That doesn't cost you anything. No. I'll always pick up the fucking phone for you guys. So stop paying me. We need to cancel all these contracts. And so it was, $600,000 of revenue. And I didn't know the answer at the time. I didn't know how to fix this myself. So we didn't do at FR Secure from maybe 2014, maybe to 2017, we didn't do VCSO services because I couldn't figure out how we would actually provide value to you as a VCSO. Because I'd be violating my own rule, right? I'd be selling you something that you don't need. If you just want me to pick up the phone for you, well, I'll do that. And it wasn't until there was an executive meeting at FR Secure, one of the people brought up, because when you do consulting work for business people, if anybody wants to run their own business, project work is very lumpy.
Yep.
Some months you're making no money, you're going broke. Some months you're making more money than you can, So it's a challenge to try to figure out how to navigate that. So
it is feast or famine.
Yeah. So one of our business minds at FR Secure was like, we need monthly recurring revenue. And me being novice to what the hell that means, I'm a security guy. I'm like, what is monthly recurring revenue? Explain that to me. And he's like, well, and he explained it. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. So it was, and this is God honest truth, the next day. So that meeting was on a Friday. Saturday, I'm sitting in my living room in my house back in the United States, and it dawned on me, fuck, this is how you do VCSO the right way and create monthly recurring revenue. It's a win-win for everybody. It starts with the basic fundamental shit about what a VCSO does. What does a VCSO do? And I have lots of, I don't know if they'd call me friends because they don't like to hear what I say. So I have a lot of CISO people, acquaintances. Some of them are friends, Fortune 500 ones. And every time, the first thing I always ask them when I meet them is, what do you do? What do you do? And they start to explain it and I stop them. This is just the normal thing I do. I stop them. I say, don't explain it like you're talking to me. I'm a security guy. I understand your language. Explain it like you're talking to my wife.
Yeah, explain it to me like I'm like a 5-year-old. That's how I
just somebody who doesn't understand all these fucking sophisticated bullshit words that we use and all this nuance shit.
It's all posturing, as I tell people. It's all a bunch of testosterone, guys that are pumping up their chest,
I have a lot of testosterone, by the way. I'm really good at sex. I told you I have 5 kids and 8 grandkids, right?
Yeah, it's just, it's the whole Alex Jones beating on the fucking chest, they're turning the frogs gay. It's just, to me, it's just like,
the frogs are gay?
They're just, veins popping out of their head and they're burning lean tissue into the night, thinking about how awesome they are.
Right.
And it's just like, look, dude, I've been around long enough. I have seen the .com fall out. I've seen some great hacks. I've seen our country go to war. I've seen the fall of the fucking Berlin Wall. I've seen the down of communism, and I've seen the rise of stupidity and the internet. And I've lived through all this.
Chip, I'm going to tell you the truth about something. Here's one thing I don't see anymore.
I don't care. It doesn't impress me.
No, I'm going to tell you one thing I don't see anymore. You ready? Question: are you ready? It's a yes or no.
Oh, I'm ready. Sock it to me, baby.
I don't see my penis anymore because I have a belly. So when I pee, I can't see it.
Yeah, that happens, man. Getting old sucks. It's not for the young.
I'm telling you, man, it makes me cry a little bit. But
it's not
so
for the
when
young.
I ask CISOs, and I've asked hundreds of them because I had a theory, and sometimes I just want to know if I'm crazy. Like, am I crazy or is this real? I mean, and so you check it off with a bunch of people that you respect. And so at the end of the day, a CISO does two things: simplify this shit.
Yeah.
Nobody's impressed with your complex explanation that takes 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. They tuned out after 30 seconds.
Simple
Honestly,
is good. Simple is
I've
good.
done enough social engineering that I understand that I can only captivate you for a short period of time unless I had a hook that you bought into, and now I got you, right? It's just like fishing. I hate fishing. I'm not even a good fisherman, but that's how it works. So here's what we do. We consult the business to make good information security risk decisions, and we implement those risk decisions. That's what we do.
I can
That's
agree with
it.
that. As
There's
I
a whole bunch
told,
of shit there's a whole bunch under that, but at the simplest thing, I don't make the fucking risk decisions. You do.
yeah,
Not
you
my
do.
fucking security, not my business, not my company, yours.
Yeah. I mean, as I told my wife after I finished that contract, because I mean, I was a contractor for, for many a good year, because I mean, the industry was just so fucking up and down, and I've been abused in, the market a
Chip,
lot.
come work for me. I will not abuse you. Fuck,
So,
man. You can make more money and not have to deal with your bullshit.
and they said, so she asked you the same thing, like, what does a virtual CISO do? I said, I'm the guy that gets blamed for all of it. And guess what? I'm the one that gets fired because it didn't work their way, and it
But see,
all
that's
went
what's so
fucking
fucking
south.
wrong. So going back to the basics, why people don't do it, why people make excuses, it's wrong to fire you. It's
Yeah,
wrong to fire the CISO. They're not the ones ultimately responsible. At the end of the day, who is ultimately responsible for information security within an organization?
the people that make the decisions for themselves.
It's at the top.
Yeah, it's at the C level.
It's the
responsible.
it's
Yeah,
the CEO, and if there's a board of directors, it's the board of directors. It's not me.
yeah, and
So
I've
that's
said
why
that.
it's important for everybody to understand that my job is to consult you to make good
Correct.
information security risk decisions. If you make shitty information security risk decisions, the truth is shitty decisions have consequences. Your problem, not mine.
That's right. Yeah, and I've said that more than once in my career. And you're talking about getting back to the elemental the basics, and cutting through all the fluff and everything like that.
Yeah.
The most awesomeness that you see that's happening with this right now are the power words that get used.
Oh, fuck that. Yeah.
Especially in artificial intelligence. Before that, it was cloud. Before that, it was, colo. I mean, it was all, data center. I mean, like, how they just do this imaginary shit that they pull out for power words from marketing.
It's all just deflection, isn't it?
It is. It's totally like, don't look over here, and definitely don't look over here, because if your mindset's here and you see what's beyond in that huge panoramic view, the nightmare fuel and the questions that you will ask will stupefy you. I mean, it's just,
right.
It's ridiculous. And, that's the one thing in the industry that's been going on for way too fucking long. Because, look, my job at the end of the day, and I tell this to all my shareholders, and I don't call them users, I call them shareholders that I work with in all the different departments and line items, is like, look, I have given you this, and what you do with it is completely up to you and your department now, and if you decide to do nothing with it, you decide to just take the file, delete it, that's perfectly fine. But if you act upon it, I guarantee you it's going to increase your security posturing. It's going to increase your knowledge base of what's going on. And then the last and the final thing, though, too, is in my world in OT, it affects the physical world. And the rule of thumb is you do not do harm. It's just like being a fucking doctor, In OT, we affect the physical world, so it can get shit, people fucking killed. And this is the last thing I'll talk about before we go tonight. And this is the reason why you see IT is about data and all this other kind of cloud crap and blah, blah, blah. When you talk about operational technology, you're talking about machine pumps, electrical, gas, water, light, things that you use in the real world, right? When I talk about maritime shipping lanes and all that kind of stuff, yes, some of that's a little bit higher level, but when it really comes down to the basics, It comes down to what they call SCADA-based systems, and these systems are not.
What's SCADA for the people?
Yeah.
What's SCADA?
So for new listeners, SCADA-based systems are basically these dummy dump controllers that have a SIM card in them with about 12 lines of code. And that thing is just basically doing this: valve open, valve close, valve open, valve close, a million times, right?
Mhm.
That's all the SCADA thing. SCADA devices are what I call the world underneath the world, right? When you flip the electrical switch, you don't think that it's going back to a breaker box. It's going back to your, outside pole. That's going to, a generator or general station that's got, your other breakers that are there that do your step downs that go to a high power line. And that high power line there goes to, a facility like a coal burn facility or somebody that's providing you power. You don't think like that. That's what I think like, because I think behind the world. When you flip that switch, you expect the lights to come the fuck on, right? And if the lights don't come the fuck on, you pick up the phone normally and you call the power company and send somebody out to come fix it, right? That's normally how it happens, okay? So, when you're dealing with SCADA-based systems, these are just no different than if you were buying something from Amazon and that package gets put onto a belt, all that arm is doing is pushing that off to, let's say, UPS, FedEx, DHL, or USPS. And that's what those SCADA-based systems do. They do the same repetitive action over and over again until they're told to stop. Okay? So for your new listeners, you can even Google SCADA-based systems. They're used in everything from, power, gas, water, light, manufacturing, you name it. They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
Right.
They're on your house. They're in your house. They're everywhere. So
I want, just real quick, for listeners who don't know SCADA, it's SCADA. So when he's telling you to Google that, it's SCADA. Just one of the things that I always do, man, and I don't know if you run into this too, is I assume people know what the fuck I'm saying, and
most people don't.
Shit, I always get burned by it. I'm like, oh God. I always get burned by it. I get you, man.
Like if I say TCP, UDP, and I start speaking network stuff and security stuff, there's just some people that just goes right the fuck over their head. Like the deer in headlights look is
Chip,
very real.
Let me ask you this, man. Will you teach? Do you do any teaching?
I used to, yeah. I taught.
You should. You should teach more, man. Because one of the things that I've learned over the years is the more I teach, the more I master. If you really want to master something,
do it every day.
Teach it, man. Yeah. Teach it to other people. Because I think, one of the things that I've really appreciated about this episode, Chip, honestly, is the first time I met you. I'm not a guy who bullshits people. Just never will. And so you can always call bullshit on me, because you'll find out the bullshit you're calling on me is actually bullshit. Whether it come down to the CISSP mentor program, whether it come to the VCSO program, whether it come to FR Secure and our core values, whatever the fuck, everything I've done in this career, call me to the carpet on it. Do it. I would need it. See, because the two things about that, number one, I need to be honest, right? So if I'm off, somebody better fucking speak up and tell me. And number two, just justifies, why I'm here. Yeah. And I see so much of why I'm here on the private sector with why you're here. We have so many commonalities, Chip.
Yeah.
And I want to have you back on the podcast again. I want to continue this relationship.
Man, I am there, no questions asked. But as I tell people, about the SCADA systems is that, that people don't realize is that I had a technician that was going out to work on a SCADA system. This gives you an example of how much it affects the real world. And it affects the real world in a hard way. He was working on a steam pressure sensor, in a, as you would call them, your basement level, of an industrial complex. There's basement levels, they call B1, B2, B3. That you see on your elevator down there, down on those lower basement levels and everything. There's, where your steam and where your power is and where all the things that make the building run, which is called a building automation system, otherwise known as a BAS. Building automation system is located at. So he was in there, took his little laptop, plugged it into the steam, the SCADA system, which it's got a little, Cat5 connector it plugs into. And he was supposed to be updating and patching the sensor. Not a big fucking deal, right? Well, the vendor was supposed to remote in with him, which he did, from Germany, because he was working with the Germans. And the
Gemini.
Germans told him to change the pressure sensor to a higher level. Well, when he did that, it caused pneumatic pressure. And pneumatic pressure is when it goes from a high state to a low state, and it causes literally things to expand. So when the pipe started to expand or mushroom, he tried to lower it back down real quick to the level it was already at, and that steam coupling broke, and it boiled him to death. So for people that want to know when a human being boils to death, go take a hot dog.
You don't want to. No. You don't want to see that.
Yeah. Take a hot dog out there and put it on the grill a little bit too long where it blisters and everything. Yeah. So he was a very good friend of mine, and he was boiled to death for about 7 minutes until he succumbed to his wounds and unfortunately passed away. So as I tell people,
was he a good guy, Chip?
Yeah, he's a great fucking guy. I knew him for years, and I mean,
sucks.
and it's, that is what OT can do. That's what you're looking at. I mean, in IT, I lost some fucking data, blah, blah, blah. It didn't snap correctly, or Azure lost my goddamn data. Google Drive, it's not there. Oh, shit. The world's coming to an end. OT is a lot different because the number one thing that you look at when you're dealing with operational technologies is you deal with safety. Safety comes first. Security and cybersecurity and all the other bullshit comes out of that. The first thing that you think of is safety. That's the reason why you have, safety fucking helmets. That's the reason why you wear certain colors on a job site, I mean...
Wait a second. You said safety fucking helmets? Was I supposed to be wearing a helmet when I was fucking?
Yeah, I mean, because if you hear tool come down, man, from, 4 stories up, that's bad. I did not do that.
Well, so here you're driving home a point, Chip, that I think a lot of people don't understand. I've always been preaching, that information security is administrative, physical, and technical controls.
Correct.
And you cannot separate them.
You can't.
So you can't separate safety from cybersecurity anymore. There was a day way back when you could do that. But nowadays, so many safety controls, so many of the things that you rely on for your heat, your water, your everything, like you're saying, the OT controls are connected to the internet. So they're now cyber related. Yep. And so don't think for a second that, information security is just a technical thing. It's a technical, it's a physical, it's an administrative thing. It's a people thing.
And here's the deal.
I love how you're driving this home.
There was a day that we had a separation between IT and OT. Now we have IT and OT have commingled so much, and now we're going to throw fucking AI on it. That's the big, new thing. And I'm like going, okay, artificial intelligence is a tool, goddammit. It's not meant for operational technology. It's meant for self-healing networks and monitoring OT stuff. That's great. But it's not meant into...
You've been around long enough. You've been around long enough, and I've always had this theory. We continue to adopt new technology faster than our ability to use it responsibly. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, 110%, because Moore's Law has basically been thrown out the fucking window because the rapid ingress of technology that we have that comes at the pace of what we demand it at, which is instantaneous because nobody's goddamn patient like I had to when you had to fucking dial up modem to get on the goddamn internet, and you had to hear, oh, that's a 9, for us that know the sounds, to get onto the fucking internet. We expect it like this. And here's the thing. Just because it's convenient, people, doesn't mean that it's fucking secure, No. And they've yet to understand that in our generation.
And when you, I've seen numerous surveys of people, has technology made your life better? It's surprising, how overwhelming the answer is no.
In my world, it's been, okay, first off, technology got me out of the fucking trailer park, okay? Technology got me
honestly, Chip, I'm gonna be honest with you on this, brother, because I have to stop you right there. It's not technology that got you out of the trailer park.
Oh, it was you. It was me.
Exactly.
That was my mode. That was my modus operandi to get out.
Honestly, brother, you would have found your way out of that trailer park because you had a motivation and a desire to be out of that trailer park. Therefore, whether it was technology, whether it would have been starting your own pizza business or whatever the hell it would have been, you would have found your way.
Yeah, and that was the thing is, that now that I'm older and my parents are older and I'm taking care of them like they took care of me, and it's the roles have reversed in my life,
Right.
and my parents are getting older and a little softer in the head, and the thing though too is my dad's like, look, I've been very proud of you, you never, got arrested, you don't have a felony, you didn't get
You never got
girl.
arrested?
No, dude, no.
Fuck, I've been in jail 11 times.
I have a TSCI with poly clearance. So,
TSCI with poly clearance.
Yeah.
You
So,
think that's going to save you from jail?
well, that's the thing. If you don't fuck around, you don't find out, brother.
I don't know, man. All it takes, it's one government official to deny it, and you're fucked.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They declare, they still use the Patriot Act like a motherfucker. I mean, we use that all the
Right?
time. I mean, we just
You
declare
can't.
we declare you a terrorist. It's out. Your rights are right out the fucking window. I mean,
All right.
it's as simple as that.
All right, man, we got to wrap this up. But hey, man, Chip, I want to say thank you. This has been a fantastic experience for me and hopefully the listeners as well. I've learned a lot about you. I've learned a lot about your perspective on information security. It's been invaluable. So thank you.
And thank you for having me. And we've kind of crossed this way
That's
over
how
the
we work.
years.
I'm an ADHD guy, man. Right.
And that's it's like normally when people call me or talk to me, it's never like hey Chip, how you doing? It's always like holy shit, it's heading right for us. What the fuck do we do? And it's yelling and screaming, hooting and hollering. And
Right.
it's good to have these conversations with people in our industry, because people that that want to do what I do, it's like it's going to take you some time. It's not instantaneous. There's no just getting some certification and then boom, you get a fucking 6-figure job and all this happens for you. You got to pay your dues. You did, I did, we all did. You went the more
Still am.
kind of paying. And that's the thing is you're always paying your dues. You're always learning something new. Technology's very interesting. And yes, it does change our life for either the better or the worse. It's depending on its application. It's depending on what you do with it, And I tell people all the time is just because, we have all of this wonderful, awesome stuff that can do some of these things. Simplicity is still the best answer for a lot of these things because
Amen, brother.
the less fucking plumbing that's in the damn thing, the less there is to fuck it up, So
complexity. So here's 2 takeaways.
yeah.
Number 1, complexity is the worst enemy of security.
Ever.
Get into your fucking brain. Don't ever fucking forget it. It's logic. It will always be true. And number 2, Chip and I are in this game for the same reason. We're in this game to fix this broken industry.
Oh yeah.
It breaks our heart, whether or not, wherever we come from. The fact of the matter is, we're in this industry because we want to do what's right. We're in this industry because we believe in protecting people. And we continue to see people get taken advantage of because we're not following the fundamentals. We're not following the basics, and there's no accountability for it. But it's going to take me, Chip, you, the listener, and many others to come together and force the issue.
And
so
it's
that's
coming.
the call to action.
And
that's the call to action.
It's coming sooner or later, sooner than it would be later because we're starting to see.
It's going to hurt.
Yeah. We're starting to see the dirty laundry come out, really, and it's becoming.
Oh man.
And it's really going to affect people. Now, Chris Roberts and I kind of, have a philosophical difference on this. He believes that when the bodies start piling up, people will start paying attention. I don't want the bodies to pile up so people don't have to pay attention, and I don't want death and dismemberment and hurt of people, throughout the continental United States and throughout the world. Don't get me wrong. I'm not some, fucking tree hugging hippie, but if it's preventable and you can stop it before it starts.
Pretty sure I have a picture of you hugging a tree.
Yeah. I mean, that's not going to happen. It's, I tell that to people and I'm glad that we're having these conversations in the public. And, and I believe that all of us should have, this platform that you're providing, to industry leaders to be able to talk about these things because, we're starting to see these things really come to the forefront of general conversations of people. I mean, when my mom is asking me about power and water and light questions that she would never fucking ever ask me in her entire life, because she got it
Right.
from, the nightly news and from television. That is kind of scary to me, and I'm glad that you are providing this service for the general public and for people to help try to change this industry. Because guess what? The first step of changing something is, guess what? Saying there's a fucking problem. And then once you say the problem out loud and you realize there's a problem and you take that problem on, then you look at how we're going to be able to change these things for the betterment in the future.
Amen, brother. Yeah, we have to tell the truth. So next episode, building off of, or, it's a great segue into what kind of happens in the next episode. Episode 5 is with Sean Riley. Sean Riley is the former CIO for the state of North Dakota. He's a friend of mine. We don't see things eye to eye, so that'll be fun. I mean, we do mostly, but there's some, nuances. And the title of the episode is Public Sector Cyber Challenges. And that'll be with Sean Riley. It'll be a fun conversation. I came actually, honestly, man, I want to, in full transparency, Chip, I came into this conversation skeptical. Didn't know who you were. If you were to take zero trust, I'm like, this guy's going to have to build some trust with me, because if he's full of shit, I'm going to call it out. It's my job to. And I think you would do the same thing now that I know you more. But you earn my trust. And I'm looking forward to the next time you and I get to sit down and talk more, because I think we'll be able to be more specific on certain topics. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you being here. You're an ally for me.
Well, thank you, sir.
All right. Take care, man.
You gentlemen have a wonderful